It wasn't the first time he tried it, but it was the last. For years, the pattern had played out the same way, so consistently that neither of us questioned it anymore. He would push, I would pause, he would wait. I would eventually give in, not because I agreed, because it was easier. If this story is touching you, comment below where you're watching from and what time it is there. He never needed to raise his voice or make demands. He knew exactly where to apply pressure, a look, a comment framed as concern, a reminder of how things usually worked. And usually they did. I have learned to recognize the moment before the shift, the subtle tightening in my chest, the internal debate that always came first. The part of me that wanted to speak, and the part that had learned silence was safer. Every time silence won. Until it didn't. The last time he tried it didn't arrive with drama or warning. It came dressed as familiarity, a conversation that sounded routine, a tone I had heard hundreds of times, a suggestion presented as expectation. He spoke with confidence, already moving toward the outcome he assumed was inevitable. I listened, and something felt different, not tense, not emotional, clear. I realized I wasn't bracing anymore. There was no internal negotiation, no rehearsal of explanations, no urge to soften what I felt. I saw the pattern in real time, the setup, the pause, a moment where I was expected to step back into place. And for the first time, I didn't. I'm not doing that, I said. The words landed quietly, but they stopped everything. He looked at me surprised, not angry, confused. That's not how this works, he said lightly, almost amused. As if correcting a misunderstanding, it was a familiar line. Usually, this was where I laughed it off, where I clarified, where I adjusted my stance just enough to keep things moving. This time, I stayed still. It works differently now, I replied. The room shifted. He tried again, reframing, reasoning, reminding me of history, of effort, of how much easier things would be if I didn't make this complicated. He wasn't being cool. He was being consistent, and that consistency had always been enough, until now. I've already decided, I said calmly. No apology, no explanation, no invitation to debate. That was when the realization hit him. This wasn't a momentary resistance, it was final. The pressure increased briefly, toned sharper, patience thinner. He waited for the crack, for the hesitation, for the familiar signs of retreat. They didn't come. I watched something shift behind his eyes, not anger, loss of footing. He had relied on my predictability for so long that he hadn't prepared for this version of me. The one who didn't flinch, the one who didn't rush to restore balance. The dynamic stalled, and without my participation, it couldn't restart. The conversation ended awkwardly, not with resolution, but with a quiet understanding that something fundamental had changed. Later, alone, I expected the doubt to arrive like it always did. Had I been too harsh? Had I escalated unnecessarily? Had I just created consequences I wasn't ready for? But the doubt didn't settle, because beneath it was something steadier, certainty. I knew what had happened. That pattern had reached its limit. The days that followed confirmed it. He tried smaller versions of the same thing. Subtle cues, familiar tones, quiet assumptions that I would eventually return to form. I didn't. Each time I responded the same way, not aggressively, not defensively, consistently. And consistency did what confrontation never had. It ended it. Without the old reaction, his attempts lost momentum. Without my adjustment, the pattern had nowhere to go. I realized then how much effort I had been contributing to keeping it alive. How much energy it took to maintain a dynamic that was never truly mutual. Letting it collapse felt strange at first, then freeing. I stopped replaying conversations in my head, stopped wondering how to say things better next time, stopped preparing for moments that no longer held power over me. That last attempt didn't mark a victory. It marked an ending, not because he finally understood, but because I finally didn't need him to. If you're rewatching this and you're waiting for someone else to change so the pattern can stop, remember this. Patterns don't end when the other person tries differently. They end when you respond differently once, and then again, and then every time after. That was the last time he tried that, because it was the first time I didn't.